Hey, what is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome in. Um, this is a vibe check. This is for, I think we're gonna start with Pisces. For this is the July edition or installment, and this is for the sign of Pisces. I think we're gonna start from Pisces and then we'll work our way um, backwards or towards the first, but we already did the first six, and now we're gonna do the remaining six. And yeah, so let's get right into it. This is just a vibe check, just kind of seeing what messages coming in for the Pisces collective. This combination of astrology, some tarot here and there, intuition, and yeah, that's it. Let's just dive right in. And if you are enjoying the vibes, the videos, please make sure to like, to subscribe, to leave a comment. Which parts of the reading resonated with you, connected with you the most, which did not. And of course, you could also watch for your, obviously, your sun placement, but you could watch for your moon placement, your Venus, your Mars, and as well as your rising. All right, so Pisces, yeah, let's dive right in. Let's see what's given for you guys during this month of June into July, which also happens to be Cancer season. This is for the Pisces collective. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Pisces. This is Pisces. This is an energy check. So this is possibly could be an energy you're sort of coming from, your present energy, or possibly like what you could be sort of going into, like you're more like, more nearer, more not so far distant future. I feel a bit nervous for some reason, so please bear with me. As I settle in. Alright, so there could be also nerves, like there could be a Pisces, a few Pisces maybe, who you could be dealing with nervousness or anxiousness or social awkwardness or something to that nature, right? Like I feel like you could work with a lot of people, or you could live a very social life, or you could work a very social job. But I feel like at the very core of who you are, you may be somebody who is very shy, very withdrawn, very reserved, and maybe your work brings you anxiety, or certain things about your work maybe make you very nervous. Maybe you do presentation, or you could be doing marketing, or you could be doing communication, a lot of communication, and you may find that yeah, maybe there's something about that gives you nervousness or anxiety perhaps, but this may be something that you also don't really talk about because it may not come across that way if somebody was just to look at you externally. Yeah, I'm also getting something about business studies, business administration. businessman, businesswoman, maybe, or feminine, masculine. You know, gender is not so precise. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling. What they're making me feel. Let's see if they'll confirm or clarify. My guides for Pisces Collective, please come through. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. So we have Gemini. You're pulling in Gemini. Gemini is the house of, Gemini is the third house. Also, Gemini rules communication. Gemini has everything to do with marketing, office administration, businesses, because it is governed by Mercury. Its ruling planet is Mercury, and that has to do with all things to do with the brain, performances, once again, as they were saying, marketing, business administration, office work, sales, business speeches and business pitches and speeches and proposals and things like that. So you could be somebody who works with a lot of people, a lot of customer service, a lot of customer sort of work. These are all things that are ruled by Gemini, or the third house. Now, this also may involve things such as a lot of writing. So you could be somebody who, as they were saying, maybe you're studying business studies, or you're a businessman or a businesswoman. It's something about a lot of writing, a lot of creativity. This also could be artistry. So you may be a musician. You could be somebody who writes music, or you write plays, or you write or script marketing campaigns, or you write and script advertising pitches and proposals. It's a lot of writing and creativity, but all of this is centered and revolves around communication and marketing and business administration, that type of thing. I'm getting a very businessy type of vibe here. So once again, you may be somebody who is a business study student, recent graduate, about to graduate, or you may be just working in the business field, and that involves a lot of communication. Now, the ascendant is important because the ascendant is also the rising sign, right? So you may be a Pisces sun, because that's what we're reading for, but you may have a Gemini rising, right? And so this is also the thing that what they were saying again, they're just coming back to clarify the thing that they were talking about, that you may come across to people as somebody who is calm and cool and confident and collected, and maybe even charming or attractive in your presentation, which is your rising or your ascension, right? These are all things that are also very strong Gemini placements. However, there might be a conflict or a contradiction because you are a Pisces sun, right? And Pisces are generally people who are very shy, very reserved, very quiet, very to themselves, and they need a lot of alone time, and they need a lot of breaks. They need a lot of space to themselves to regather their thoughts and things like that. Also, Pisces people, men or women, are very intuitive, maybe even to a point of being psychic. You may be very good at reading people. If you're not good at reading people in an emotional, psychic, telepathic kind of way, you may be good at reading people from a businessy kind of way. So you may say, let's say an example, a client walks into the store or a client walks into your office, they say one or two, three words, and you're able to already read them and be able to know what kind of service you can offer them or how to engage with them or how to help them. There's this intuition that you have that gives you the ability to read your customers or read your clients or have an understanding for your clients in a way that makes sense for you to apply your business practice, right? So there are some people who are intuitive readers like myself. I'm an intuitive reader. Maybe I read more from an emotional, energy, psychic kind of perspective. But if you're somebody who is a business person, you may be reading people from a business kind of perspective, like trying to understand what are their business needs or what are their wants, and how do you provide the service that they desire or that they want, or for why they came to your office or to your store or to your shop, right? So you have that kind of intuition as a Pisces sun, and that's a beautiful thing. But also something else that comes with Pisces again is that shyness, is that being reserved, or also even maybe a little bit of social anxiety or social awkwardness may also be something. And so the conflict arises with your arising sign, which may be in Gemini. This is just as an example, but it may actually be in Gemini. You have to go back and check your natal chart. But even if it weren't, the message that they're trying to convey here to you is that you may be at odds with yourself a little bit, right? That the nature of who you are as a Pisces person sometimes conflicts with the person who you have to show up to be in the world where you perform your performance, right? So if you are a salesperson, if you're a marketing person, it's kind of like, when you wake up in the morning, kind of like, you have to prep yourself up a little bit, like, okay, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. It's going to be a great sales day, something like that, right? You kind of have to psych yourself up a little bit, because it might not necessarily be something that comes easily for you because you're naturally shy, right? So I don't know why this is coming up. Perhaps this is coming up because maybe you may be feeling pressure to perform, or you feel often pressure to perform in terms of your nature as who you are as a person versus what is expected of you in your professional life, right? And so maybe it's about finding that balance for you for this particular month, or whenever you come across this reading. The emphasis might be on you perhaps finding that balance and navigating that space of who you are as a person in your personal space and who you are required to be in your performative professional self, which I feel you do it very well because Gemini came here to represent you, right? So it means that you communicate very well, as they were saying. You can read people very well. You can read situations very well. And even if you're not somebody who necessarily reads people, you may be somebody who reads data or reads analytics or reads and studies statistics and reports, and you're able to kind of read people from that angle or from that perspective, sort of understanding, oh, this is what the stats are saying about this app, or this is what the statistics are saying about this particular product. It's more in demand, or this is more trendy, or this is kind of looking upward in terms of trendiness. I don't know this kind of stuff, right? I'm just sharing what my guides are showing me. So this may be you. You may be a statistician, somebody who studies statistics. You may be very good at that, excellent at that, or just a great communicator. But however, I do feel like maybe there could be something about balancing those two worlds, your professional self as well as your personal self, right? Because I feel like you may be so good at something and so convincing that people may mistake this to be your actual identity. And then when people learn that maybe you're actually more shy, more reserved, it may be like a shock to them, right? So sometimes people can expect from you what they have come to like or appreciate or value in terms of your performance. When maybe the thing is that once you are done doing the performance and you knock out and you clock in your hours, you're a different person, right? So there may be something about being at odds with that. And so this retrograde energy, they're also pointing it out, and is important because the retrogrades are when something sort of goes back into a prior state of being, right? It's like an anti-clockwise sort of movement. And so what I'm gathering here, Pisces Sun, for you is that something may be coming around back to you. And this, in spiritual terms, we call it like a life lesson, or something like that. So an event may arise again that kind of tests your boundaries, that tests your sense of self-awareness, and also that tests your sense of professionalism in terms of the stuff that we were talking about here, right? Maybe you may be offered a promotion at your job, or you may be offered more work responsibilities or more tasks, and it's about realigning yourself and sitting with yourself enough to say, oh, actually, I appreciate the promotion, or I appreciate that you value my expertise and my skills and my work ethic, that you feel you want to give me more responsibilities, but actually I'm not able to take on more at this particular point in life because family, or because of this, or because of my well-being, or whatever the reasons may be, right? And this may also apply to relationships, where maybe a relationship or an ex may come back around, spin around the block, and try and maybe work things with you, patch things over with you, to see if you'll take them back, or if you'll reconsider a relationship with them. And then it's about sort of you going back and thinking, but why didn't it work the first time around? What was different then? How are you different now? How am I different now? Is it going to work if we were ever to move forward, right? So it's almost as if with the retrograde energy, you're being presented a tape that plays back some of your previous experiences and what you've sort of learned from those. Do you now have more healthier boundaries? Are you able to say no in a more stronger, more convincing way, with conviction, in terms of safeguarding your own personal space and your own personal well-being or sense of being, while still maintaining a level of professionalism that helps you meet your goals and get the results that you hope to achieve from that perspective. So like if you're a salesperson, if you're a marketing person, how can you still be better at what you do, sustain what you do, maintain what you do, but still maybe have healthy boundaries in terms of work-life balance, right? So the retrograde energy always comes around to test those things, what you have in place. All right? Does that make sense, Pisces? They also want me to highlight Sagittarius, because Sagittarius also does represent our expansion. It's that Jupiterian energy. It represents our expansion in terms of what have you learned? Can you learn more? Are you self-aware? Your self-development? What areas are weaknesses that you can strengthen? And what have you strengthened? And the things that you've learned, whether academically, in your studies, how are you able to apply them to your work, or how are you able to apply them to your personal life? If it's life lessons or relationship lessons, how are you able to apply those when a retrograde comes back around, right? And this is important because this is actually testing your 11th house. And your 11th house is your house of wishes. It is the house of your friendships, right? Your network is that Aquarian house. So it's your network, your professional network, your personal network, as far as it's also connected to your wishes, right? So everything that they were downloading to me at the beginning of the reading, they're just confirming with the chronological layout of the cards, right? After shuffling them. So it's about Pisces. This is about you kind of reevaluating or reassessing or looking at your networks, whether professional and personal, and kind of seeing what life lessons you've learned from them, how they better you as a man or as a woman, and how they support your wishes going forward. So basically, again, they're really speaking to the same thing that they were just saying earlier on here about you have your wishes professionally, and maybe you also have personal goals and friendships that you want to strengthen and invest in. But in order for that to happen, do you have the necessary boundaries to make sure that you have that balance, right? So that's what I'm getting here for you. All right. So that's your vibe check basically for this month. What I'm being shown to share with you. Now we're gonna close this off with the tarot. See if it supports any of these messages, if it confirms anything, a double confirmation, or if there's new information coming through. You're definitely really focusing on growth, professional growth especially. Oh yeah, and also travel may be very important for you. Some of you may travel a lot, but I'm seeing this as like short-term kind of traveling. So it's not like international foreign travels, but this is maybe more like local travels or national travels. So you could be traveling from one town to another town, or like one state to another state, kind of traveling for work and study purposes, because all of those things are things that fall within the house of Gemini. All right. And especially if they're combined with Sagittarius in the 11th house, indicates to me that there's a lot of commuting, a lot of traveling for networking purposes, for study purposes, for work purposes. So it's a combination of things, like you could be living in one place because that's where you study, or that's where you're doing your training or your internship, but then you have to travel to a different place because that's where your network of work, of professional works, type of thing like that, right? Yeah. Please close this for Pisces. Retrogrades are also very stressful. So maybe this is also the nervousness or the anxiousness that I was maybe feeling before I saw this card pop out. It could also be that, because retrogrades are very stressful energies, and the reason why they're stressful is because they're triggering, right? They come around. It's like something coming back around that you've experienced, but it comes back around to sort of test your resilience, as they were saying, or to test whether you've graduated from that life lesson. So when a retrograde comes around, you may be finding yourself being maybe a little bit more restless, a little bit more tired, a little bit more stressed out without really understanding why. And this retrograde may coincide with an actual retrograde that is currently going on, which I haven't checked. But also it could be a retrograde in terms of symbolism, because I'm reading the cards, right? So There may not necessarily be a retrograde going on now, necessarily, for you, Pisces, but the symbology of it indicates that this would be the case for you, right? In your current vibration. Does it make sense? Yeah, balance. It really is about it really is about that balance. Here you are as the King of Cups, perfect as a Pisces sun. This is your true domain. You know, you govern over the cups. You are the ruler of the cups. As I was saying earlier on, you are one of the best when it comes to that intuition, when it comes to the understanding of human psychology, human feelings, human emotions, being able to read people, being able to understand the ebbs and flows of life, right? And as you can see, this man symbolically sits on his throne, on top of what looks to be a raging waves of water beneath him, but he has kind of gained some sort of mastery and is able to command the water and is able to stay above the water and doesn't really get drowned in it, because he is now the King of Cups, right? And so this is the thing that I was being shown to share with you, that you have an intuition like no other, and you have a psychic ability like no other. The way you understand people, the psychology of people, emotions and feelings is like no other. You're one of the best at it, along with Cancers and Scorpios. And so this is just coming to honor you and clarify and confirm the messages that they were mentioning here, right? So when these retrogrades come around, there's triggering points, there's stressful points. When they come around, they just want you to remember who you are, all the lessons that you've been through, and the resilience, the perseverance that you've shown throughout your trials and tribulations, all right? And yeah, so this just confirms that. All right, Pisces? All right, dear. Let's see if we can get one more. Yeah, beware of impatience. You may suffer a little bit of impatience with the Knight of Wands here, a raging spirit of passion. But as it pertains to your work, it may show itself as maybe ultra competitive, ultra driven, ultra motivated, ultra as in like super motivated, super ambitious, super talented, super, sometimes maybe a little bit super over the top, which could also lead to a sense of being maybe impatient with yourself or with others, right? So, and when you're experiencing a retrograde, this is the thing that challenges your position, right? And so this comes with a retrograde and triggers you, stresses you out. That boss that's annoying you, that colleague that just won't get off your case, they're like acting as the retrograde, and they're bringing this conflict and this tension in your life towards your cup. And then that's where you're being reminded, like, all right, hold your horses now, calm down, let's think about this. What is the motive behind this? What is, right? So this triggering, this raging thing here that comes with this passionate energy could just be a thing that is to test your position. And this is already what we talked about. Like, can you handle it's kind of like the calm before the storm type of thing, right? It's like, you are the master of the storm. But do you know that you are the master of the storm, right? If the storm was to get if your waters become turbulent, are you able to remember that you are still the master of the storm, right? Because generally Pisces are, I always liken them to more calmer, still waters because it's a mutable sign. And I equate the storms to Cancer and the depth of it to Scorpio, right? So sometimes you forget. Sometimes you forget who you are. And so this is just coming back to remind you who you are. All right? All grace to God. All right, one more. Oh, that's a flyer. What does they say? Yeah. Then here we have the King of Swords, right? Which is this now. Perfect, actually. Which is basically Gemini, right? The logic, the communication, the objectiveness, being objective, straight to the point, you know? And I like this because it shows the balance, that this is truly who you are, but this is also an area of yourself that you're developing. And I think that this is the conflict that sometimes happens, right? Like, how do you handle, because you have this side to you that's Pisces sun, that's calm, that's collected, in tune with your intuition and your feelings and your emotions. And then something triggers you, something raging comes along that makes you impatient, that kind of, and then it kind of forces you to like step into this King of Swords type of vibration where now it's like, oh damn, now I have to make a quick decision, or now I have to think on top of my head, as on top of my feet, as as fast as possible, or like now I'm impatient and this and this and that, right? So it's kind of like really finding that balance between who you show up in the world and sort of who you truly are intrinsically as a person, right? So that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting here for you here, Pisces. And I don't know, it's not my experience, so I hope that if you find this, that this is something that, oh look, we were talking about this, yeah, that there's something in it here that can guide you, or that can, you can relate to, that you can find helps you in terms of your growth journey. All right, so that's it. Thanks for tapping in. And if you connected with this reading, please do like, share, leave a comment if you so wish. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. All right.